Good afternoon, C's. My name is Manny Rivera, as Dean Dolan said. I'm the CEO and founder of Revidium and this year sponsor. I want to start by first thanking GW for allowing me to this opportunity to actually sponsor this show and also for the speaking engagement today. I'd like to offer special thanks also to Dean Darling for inviting me. I know Dr. Randy Graves is sick today, so he's the founder of the C Showcase, so I wish him to get well, speedy recovery. Aaron Haggerty from another fellow sponsor, the president of Haggerty Research LLC. Thank you for coming, as well as Santush Jairam. He's also a sponsor in the COO Agile Trailblazer Inc., a diversity company that does a lot of agile technology out there in the private sector. I also want to thank the faculty for guiding the students, and of course, the students that participated today in the R&D showcase. Since 1884, the SEES program here at GW has provided the highest quality undergraduate, graduate, and professional opportunities to stimulate and promote innovative, fundamental, and applied research activities. The R&D Showcase is an annual celebration of SEES accomplishments with students innovating, problem solving, and creating amazing technologies that will change the world for now and for the future. This year's competition included a new entrepreneurship award as well as the Innovation Challenge, which looks at the innovative thinking in a multidisciplinary team environment whereby teams of up to 3 current SEES undergraduate and or graduate students compete to see which teams develop and demonstrate the most innovative use of the provided single board Raspberry Pi 3 Wi-Fi computer. And I have a little bit more about the Raspberry later and comparing it to where we came from in the past, where we at today with the Raspberry Pi 3. In the poster competition, the range of posters included a diverse of engineering topics like ultrasound-enhanced drug delivery, 3-dimensional printing on lab equipment, robotic autonomous exploration via exact occupancy grid mapping, the traffic condition monitoring system, and a centralized power management system, CMS, just to name a few. While I was reviewing the entrants for this year's Entrepreneurs and Innovation Competition, I was struck by the difference between the Raspberry Pi 3 and the Tandy computer I first encountered 28 years ago when I was in the military. The Tandy computer allowed you to have a floppy 5-inch disk that was flexible. And the reason for that was that those computers back then only allowed 64K of memory or space on the operating system. And in order for you to expand that, you actually have to insert the disk and many times run the program right from the disk because you didn't have enough space or memory to do what you can do today. To say that I was scared to death just touching that Tandy that was brand new, that only had 64K, that I broke it so many times that I don't even know how SEES allowed me to actually attend the SEES program after destroying that computer so many times, but here I am. I've traveled a long road to get to you today, immigrating from the Dominican Republic with my mom and 4 other siblings to Long Island, New York, and becoming an orphan at age 11. I recall being a high school graduate who could barely pronounce entrepreneurship, alone spell it. As I thought about these remarks, I realized there are 3 key things that brought me here today. These things can take any entrepreneur anywhere they want to go. The first is curiosity. I wanted to touch that Tandy because I was always curious about how things work. I joined the Army because I wanted to see the world outside Long Island, New York, and I also wanted to find out what was out there, the more. Second is internal drive. As an 11-year-old orphan, I realized pretty quickly that in life, I needed to work hard to survive. But because I was curious, I also wanted to thrive in this world. And the third thing, and the most important thing, is the people we meet. We do not get anywhere in this world without people directly or indirectly helping us. 2 of my biggest influences were John Melvin. He was a businessman in New York as I was growing up and graduating high school. The other one was Dr. Susan Shang, who was my PhD advisor here at GW. Once I finished my graduate degree, I started my PhD research work. I did it for about 1.5 years, but then I deployed, so I had to put aside my PhD research work. But the things I learned here at GW really were the nexus that led me lead to starting Revidium once I retired from the military. When I graduated from high school, I had this nagging feeling that I had missed something in my education. I got a job as a gene factory, at a gene factory owned by Melvin's family. And Mr. Melvin saw something in me that others had, for some reason, had decided not to see. And he decided to make me a courier in his company. And he gave me the keys to his brand new Mercedes. And he said, Manny, take this Mercedes. And the Melvin family had 3 factories in reality in Long Island. There were the father and 2 sons that had factories in the general area. So my responsibility was to courier different messages and different courier items between the 3 different companies where the 2 sons were at. Well, since I'm curious, I started getting curious about how to run my own company. I wanted to emulate the same thing that I saw the Melvins do with their business. So while working for the Melvins, I observed how they spoke to each other, professionally and personally, how they address and carry themselves, their family life and business, and their love for reading and education. And I realized one key thing interacting with the Melvins, and that is that in order to get to where I wanted to get, I needed a good base of education. So I needed to educate myself. So in order to get that education I decided to join the military. It was in the military that I first made my encounter with that Tandy and was curious to figure out how it worked and how to make it work. I studied different computer language and began writing simple programs directing the Tandy, and I was hooked forever. One other decision that I should mention is, while in the military, I also met my lovely bride and convinced her to marry me. She only had one problem. She thought I was a crazy guy because all the time I spent in my basement, I was spending doing computer programs. So many times she would leave notes around saying, are you married to your computer or are you married to me? But we made it work. I was obsessed with computer and technology that I set up my own bulletin board system in the basement. This was pre-internet days, back 28 years ago. And I required a bank of phones where people would dial into the bank to connect to my network, and we would share and exchange files throughout the country. While on active duty, I took advantage of all the educational opportunity afforded to me. I studied different languages like assembly language, Fortran, Pascal, C++. But it wasn't until I attended GW that my mind was open to possibility of true computer engineering, computer science, and especially computer security, which is the field that I'm specialized in the company. During my graduate study, I met Professor Susan Sheng, who later became a PhD advisor, and who helped me delve into the world of nanosensors and the security of nanosensors at the small level. The research and project I encountered at GW opened the doors to research and work that I later carried on to the Army when I was doing research for the Army at the Pentagon. It also allowed me to delve deeper into the acquisition field and search out those companies that were innovative in the computer science field and the electrical engineering field, because I was also a contracting officer. I was also a program manager, and I had a big purse of money that I used to go as a contracting officer, search out and give contracts to companies that were innovative to actually be able to get them ahead. And I search out small and big companies to do the research to acquire the technology that the Army and the Department of Defense needed to actually get ahead and get our warfighters a better advantage in the battlefield. This is Rivera 5th year sponsoring the SEAS Student R&D Showcase, and I am thankful every day to have had the opportunity to study at SEAS. To the students here today and the faculty, I tell you my story to encourage you to dream big and then set goals to make dreams come true. And then plan to be a success by being curious, by developing your internal drive, and by learning for the myriad of people around you, especially here at GW and in your life as a whole. For the last 5 years, I've seen the quality of the R&D posters. I was a judge here for 4 years, believe it or not. And from the beginning, I've seen how the posters have grown. This year, we have two different sets with the entrepreneur and the innovation, which is great. And it seems like the award money and the competition is getting more and more fiercer. And that goes to the level of engineering and the level of technology that we're learning here at GW. I see what you have done with the Raspberry Pi 3 and know that the future of innovation, technology development, and entrepreneurship is in great hands here at GW. A wise entrepreneur professor once told me, entrepreneurship is a singular focus on a business objective without regards to the resources you currently control. You students have the greatest asset anyone could ever have. You have time. Time to dream, time to set goals, time to plan, and most importantly, time to execute that plan for success and innovation. I encourage you to use those assets, innovate, change the world, and make C's proud of what you do. Thank you very much for the opportunity and for having me here today.